All right. We located him. I sent the urgent text out to Pablo Torre. Apparently, it found him in bed. He gathered himself. He splashed some water on his face. He wiped the crust out of his eyes, put on his glasses.
Splash.
Yeah, there it is. And
I have an issue with you before we get to
With
Pablo.
me?
Yes, we're doing If the Season Ended Today, and I keep asking you about particular matchups, and you're not giving me the result, and I need the result so we can continue to play the game.
Hawks.
What
Okay.
was the question?
It was the play-in game, the Bulls and the Hawks, the 9-10. You already have the Sixers, the Heat beating the Sixers. So
I've got.
thank you.
Okay, that's good music right there. I've got the Hawks winning.
Okay.
If the season ended today.
So Hawks, Sixers quickly, then we'll get to Pablo.
Sixers.
Okay, good. So the Sixers are the 8, the Heat are the 7.
Yes.
All right, continue.
I didn't know he's filling out an actual bracket here. So prepared, Stugats.
Thank you.
Pablo, before we even allow you to say a single word on this program, let me just do this real quick.
Look at me,
I deserve that. I didn't come on here to talk about this. I feel blindsided.
Yes, you did.
I am wiping crust out of my eyes. I am wearing glasses. I do feel gross. I am very tired. Didn't want to talk about this, but I will talk about this because I guess I'm already here. So what do you want to know?
So, first of all, I don't believe you when you say you didn't come on here to talk about this.
I have an episode I'm trying to get people to listen to. It involves a giant scandal. It's really interesting, and yet I'm talking about something that I think is significantly less important. Significantly less important. So
you sent
just
the
wanna say
picture.
that.
You sent the picture to us in advance of this conversation.
I did not send the picture to you. I put it on, I guess, a platform where millions of people could see it,
Uh-huh.
in fairness.
Okay.
So not directly for you,
Okay.
mostly for others.
Right.
Look, I feel bad because I kind of gentrified Lucy's whole fandom here.
Absolutely.
I showed up. I had no
Absolutely.
prior stake in this, and I felt myself guiltily sending Lucy just updates and videos, almost
Jason
cameo
Sudeikis.
style, because I was at this game with
Jason Sudeikis.
with fucking Ted Lasso. Yeah, it's true.
The part that I thought was most offensive, if I may be blunt, was
we're ranking various parts that were offensive.
I just
Okay,
know
didn't
what
there
was
were
the
multiple
most
parts.
offensive.
It
What?
has to be
Okay.
him being an Iowa fan, right?
Well, no, it wasn't even that,
Go Hawks.
Stugats, or it is related to that. There's a shot, right? Caitlin Clark hits a shot. They call timeout. We're going to break, and as we're going to break, they're showing the replay, and she's running back up court. And as they pan, I see the unmistakable figure, the silhouette of Pablo Torre doing the Caitlin Clark three-point celebration.
Oh, you saw that?
I saw that one. Everyone's got the high five. I saw the one where
yeah.
you're doing the celebration, and that, sir, is disgusting.
I was doing all sorts of celebrations. I was doing high five. They did 3 to the dome. I was doing that for a while. It was look. I want to say this because I want Lucy to understand how much I enjoyed this on her behalf. That was as much fun as I've ever had at a sporting event. I truly mean that. It was one of the great. It was. I could give you. I mean, you guys watched it all. Everybody watched it. The entire country watched it more than anybody's ever watched a college basketball game played by women before ever. So I think you guys have a sense of this. But every time she pulled up, I stood. And I'm not just saying that to say, wow, look at me, the biggest Caitlin Clark fan. It was just that exciting. Like, I cannot stress how unbelievable the Albany, I think it was the MVP arena that we showed up in. This, like, tiny place contained one of the great sporting events in basketball history. Truly, I mean that. And so, yeah, I was doing all sorts of stuff that compromised my journalistic integrity. It's true. I didn't know Amin saw all of it, but I was doing all sorts of stuff. I was, like, hugging Iowa fans. I was sitting next to Caitlin Clark's family.
But you really don't
We
want to talk
embraced
about
after
it.
the game.
look at me.
No.
No, it seems so
Louis.
painful.
It was
does.
absolutely
Louis.
appropriate. Absolutely appropriate to have that many. So you showed up at the arena. How'd you show up?
That's not important.
Hi.
It feels
How'd you
like,
show up?
On 2 feet
So you walked
with
to
a
Albany.
jacket on.
You walked to
jacket
Albany?
on.
Or-
Took a chopper.
Look, I live in New York City,
You took a chopper?
and there are only so many ways to get to Albany.
The train, right?
And
You
so
took the
I got
train?
to Albany.
Right.
Did you take a chopper?
Absolutely, he did.
I look, all I'm here to say is that the best way to get from New York City to Albany is not by train and not by car, because of course it's so annoying to get to Albany. I hadn't been to Albany since the New York
grade
State
trip?
High School Debate Championship.
You took a chopper.
which we won, by the way.
Dork.
Are
Regis High
those-
School,
How
New
long
York
is the
State.
chopper ride?
Are those headsets from the chopper that you have on right
Look,
now?
guys, I'm not here to talk about planes, trains, and automobiles.
Right.
Come on.
How
what are we
long is
doing?
that chopper ride?
Mm-hmm.
And just out of curiosity.
If you were to take it.
I mean, hypothetically, it would be like 45 minutes door to
Oh.
door.
Well, I do want to switch gears because you had a pretty major story drop on your famous podcast, as Stugatz called it. Pablo Torre figures out.
Figure stuff out. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
Better
finding stuff out.
Yeah,
Figuring
and
stuff out. He's
Stugatz did not hear the episode, so I had to give him an encapsulation of a very sophisticated, very nuanced story.
I'm getting to it.
And it took
Thank
me
you,
a
Stu.
good 5 minutes to explain all the details. So how can you explain this story to our audience in about 30 seconds?
Okay, so I'm just going to tell you to watch and listen to this episode. I promise it's worth it. I promise. It sounds boring because it's about mortgage lending. I promise that this explains a lot about America and the NBA. And there's a voicemail that I will use just to dangle for your audience specifically. If you can play that voicemail that we have in the episode.
Hey, buddy, hope you're doing good. Just want to say I love you. We took those suckers down. Fuck them. And we're going to keep sticking it to them forever. Fuck those guys. We're number one. We kick the shit out of them. Brokers are number one. UWM's number one. You're number one. We're all number one together. And fuck them. I hate them with all my heart. And we're going to keep kicking their ass every fucking day. That's why I was here 4 a.m. again today. I don't give a fuck. We're going to keep kicking their ass. And so, love you, man. We talked about it. We waited for rates to go up. I'm going to win. You're going to win. Both are happening right now. Keep hiring. Keep building. Keep growing. Let's fucking go.
Sounds like a regular business voicemail.
What's wrong with that?
You should know that this episode is an interview I did with a reporter from Hunter Brook Media, a new media company that does investigation into public data. And so along the road of investigating the public data around mortgage lending in America, this reporter, Sam Koppelman, was led to the feet of Matt Ishbia, who happens to own the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury, who happens to have paid a record price, $4 billion. That's the valuation of those teams in December 2022. And that's his voice. That's Matt Ishbia's voice. And who Matt Ishbia is talking about, what he's talking about there, is his desire to obliterate Dan Gilbert.
Wait a second.
The
The
owner of
same
the
Dan
Cavs.
Gilbert from the Cavs?
Look, this story is about how two NBA owners are fighting in the way that you just heard for control of an industry that you may recall was at the heart of the financial crisis in 2008. And so what I'm saying here is that using public data, it has been revealed by Hunter Brook that approximately $39 billion over the last 4 years in American homebuyers' mortgages went to Matt Ishbia and United Wholesale Mortgage, the king of mortgage lending. These are independent brokers, okay? And I just want to explain very briefly here, and then you can listen to the episode. I'll stop talking about mortgages.
Okay.
In America, independent mortgage brokers are supposed to be the advocates for everyday American homebuyers. And what the data shows is that there are thousands upon thousands of them who send Matt Ishbia 99% of their business. 99%, despite saying we're going to shop around, get you the best deal. They send those people 99% of the business, Matt Ishbia, despite there being cheaper options elsewhere. So the question is why and how? And it gets to Dan Gilbert. It gets to Isaiah Thomas, which is how I started reporting the story. I fell into an Isaiah Thomas rabbit hole and was led to Sam's reporting on this. It's wild. It's genuinely one of the biggest stories in sports in recent years, as well as one of the biggest stories in business. It might be, as Hunter Brook claims, the biggest mortgage fraud since the financial crisis. And also, there's a guy saying cocksucker a lot and cursing like a zillion times in 30 seconds.
Market.
There's huge implications because of the housing crisis. There was all sorts of reform that followed. This is, even though there's flashy headlines with bleep sucker and an NBA story here, this is a business story that Hunter Brook Media broke. What kind of feedback are you hearing? How is this circulating in the business world?
Yeah, so it is a big deal in the world of business. There are repercussions to come, I am told. But Hunter Brook itself is a fascinating story. So I say public data, I keep on stressing that. What Hunter Brook Media does is it analyzes publicly available information. So that voicemail was actually leaked to a Facebook group of mortgage brokers. The data we're talking about, what Hunter Brook did was analyze truly giant, enormous databases of publicly available federal and county level mortgage information to find out, okay, what are Americans getting charged by these independent brokers? Who are the independent brokers really? How loyalist to Ishbia are they? And simultaneously, I should also point this out. What Hunter Brook does is they publish this information, and an affiliated trading arm, Hunter Brook Capital, then takes out financial positions on that reporting. It's a new model to support investigative reporting. That itself is controversial, of course. They are transparent about all of it. But of course, the next step of this conversation is Matt Ishbia just released a statement yesterday, and I'll direct people to find it online so I don't misquote it. But he's saying this is all biased reporting by a hedge fund short seller. And some of that, I understand the misinterpretation, but a lot of this is going to be litigated out in public because Matt Ishbia is seemingly fighting for his life because that is the degree to which this is a serious story.
The author, he's written several really interesting books or co-authored several interesting books, including one with Eric Holder, who was the former Attorney General of the United States. How much of that relationship there informed kind of what he saw and what United Wholesale Mortgage is doing?
Yeah, I mean, what they did was consult legal experts. I mean, it's not just the fact that they went to the highest level lawyers in the country to say, does this sound fishy? They went to experts who connected the dots here, right? So what happened in 2008 was all of these regulations came to be about how you got to protect American home buyers because, again, mortgage brokers are at the center of it. And what this article that Hunter Brook published is arguing is that what Matt Ishbia and United Wholesale Mortgage have been doing is skirting those rules, is violating the idea of we need to protect the American home buyer by disclosing fully who these people are really working for and who they're working with. And so all of this, Amin, has absolutely very real legal consequences that have been vetted by people who are not employed by Hunter Brook Media, are not me. And by the way, the story goes to the top in terms of Janet Yellen, Secretary of the United States Treasury, pointing out that she is worried, this was months ago, about these private lending companies like UWM, like Rocket Mortgage, taking the place of the big banks who got essentially incentivized to leave this space because of regulation. And so what are these private lenders doing has been a question the entire time. What I didn't fully realize was how this question also helped explain a national NBA mystery, which is what in the hell is Isaiah Thomas doing with the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah,
that's the other part of the story.
And I think that's the important part of the story for sports fans who might hear mortgages and securities and lawyers and don't care about that. How does it relate in the sports world? There's two things. One is the relationship with Isaiah Thomas, and the other is that the finances that this team is buffered by are happening under these auspices, right?
Yeah, and look, Isaiah Thomas, we have confirmed, we did the reporting on this part, was an independent board member of United Wholesale Mortgage. What does this mean? It means that on a board of a company, you're supposed to have people who are there to, of course, decide what compensation the family gets. In this case, the family, the Ishbias who run the company, and also to be a guardrail against the malfeasance, the specific type of malfeasance that Hunter Brook discovered. And Isaiah Thomas was in a position to be that guardrail. I'm not saying that Isaiah Thomas specifically was devising the mortgage strategies that are discussed in Hunter Brook's reporting. What I am saying is that he, as a board member who was paid a six-figure salary annually, was there as a supposed guardrail, in fact, an independent one. And the independent part for years has been, it turns out, at issue. Because simultaneous to all of this, you may recall what Chris Paul was saying when he got traded from the Suns, right? He gives an interview to the New York Times, and he says 3 separate times the reason he is no longer with the Suns, that he got traded in that Bradley Beal deal, was because of Matt and Isaiah. Matt and Isaiah, Matt and Isaiah. He was just the latest voice to indicate that, in fact, one of the most influential voices determining the basketball operations of the Phoenix Suns has been Isaiah Thomas, who happens to be Matt Ishbia's childhood idol and a guy he trusts enough to put on the board of the biggest mortgage lending company in America. So all of this connects in a way that the episode spells out. These are really top-line descriptions, but it is incredible to realize how the dots connect through that NBA gossip story into, again, a potential enormous financial story.
Check out the episode. It's an important conversation. I'm glad we're having it. Pablo, you mentioned your last trip to Albany. You went to some sort of debate competition. Were you attending or competing?
I was this one I'll disclose. I was the president of the New York State champion Lincoln Douglas debate team. So
that doesn't answer the question, though. You might have just gone recreationally. as an enthusiast.
Get a ring for that, or what?
I met the criteria. To win a state championship. But was I competing in the debate itself?
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe not. I was the leader, though. I was the leader. My leadership is an important criteria that I met for winning a state title.
So we heard Pablo mention it. 12+ million viewers on Monday night for LSU versus Iowa. That is obviously the greatest mark in the history of the sport for women's college basketball, but also eclipsed every NBA game last year, including every finals game but one, which was Game 5, I believe, the clinching game for the Nuggets. And Jessica, you weren't here with us yesterday, so we had a very mansplaining conversation about women's college basketball, about the Caitlin Clark. And
We just
LSU.
reacted to the game, though. I feel like we did all right yesterday.
Yeah, but
we could have been a lot worse.
But it was a bunch of dudes. At the end of
That's
the day,
true, but we were breaking down the game. We weren't doing
did.
the societal thing. We
We
were just
didn't.
like, let's talk X's and O's.
We talked X's and O's, but we did it as a bunch of dudes. And so the conversation is incomplete without our resident
Ask
woman.
a lady.
Yes, ask
I mean,
a woman.
We did some of the societal stuff, but we're showing our ass without having a woman on the air with us. So
now we do.
Here's
We trot her
woman.
out.
Was that a question?
I don't know what happened there.
Here's woman.
Are you saying we can't have a conversation about the game without?
No, I'm
Jess?
saying no. Absolutely, we could.
Okay.
But things like Angel Reese, where
Right.
the perspective
tried
would have been
to be
Me
appreciated.
up to say something with
No.
woman.
Yeah, woman have opinion.
Well, man,
By the way, Angel Reese should not declare for the WNBA draft. She should stay in college. I'm telling you.
There's a take.
She's
seems-
more. I'm
seems
telling-
like she's loving it.
She's going to make more money in college and be more recognized playing at LSU than she will once she gets to the
that's-
WNBA.
But
In my
Caitlin
opinion.
takes
In my opinion.
But Caitlin should go.
No.
Yeah,
They should
I-
both stay.
I think Angel Reese will make a lot of money in endorsements after college. I think what we've like talked about this so much, and it has been debunked by every former and current WNBA player who's talked about it. But the thing about endorsements and NIL is that you can still make them when you're a professional player. And in fact, because you're not in school and you're not stuck playing the college schedule for most of the year and you're not going to classes during the week, you actually have more time to do more endorsement deals if you want, and you have more availability to do other things outside of playing in the WNBA. Like, it's just completely different, and like this has been debunked several times over. Angel Reese has so much star power. She does not need to stay at LSU to have a relevant like NIL deal to make money off of.
in your face, Dugat.
Well, I'm not saying it. I'm talking about the exposure she gets by playing women's college basketball. That thing outrated the NBA Finals, that game. Like, WNBA games don't do that.
Right, but
That's good rebuttal.
These are certified needle movers, and why wouldn't they just move the needle over in the WNBA?
Ooh, he's got a point there.
That'd be like if Kevin Durant,
Point, counterpoint.
when he was at Texas, if you're like, he shouldn't go, like he went to the NBA, and we still know Kevin Durant. Like he's.
Well, the difference is, though, like, the college basketball is not as people like college basketball on the men's side are not as recognizable as NBA stars are. That's undeniable. Whereas when it comes to WNBA versus women's college basketball, I think there's an argument on where are you the most popular.
What I'm telling you is that every single WNBA player who has played in the NIL era and ones that haven't have said that this argument is just made up and it's not true. And I tend to take their word for it because no one pocket watches more than people who want to talk about how poorly the WNBA rates or how irrelevant the WNBA is. And I'm telling you, players, Sue Bird and Nneka Ogwumike had this really great roundtable with Paige Beckers and Aaliyah Boston a few weeks ago on Together, where they were talking about like really nitty gritty in the financials of this argument, because this has been something that people have talked about, especially with Caitlin Clark over the last year. And like, it's just not true. I mean, maybe in like some very specific circumstances you could make that argument, but overall, like every player is saying that when you go to the WNBA, you have more opportunity for endorsements. You can do the WNBA marketing deals. You can do all these other things, and you make a salary.
Jessica, this question was asked yesterday, and as to Gats, you too, because you weren't here yesterday either. What's the number? Let's say I'm crazy Iowa booster who's a billionaire. what's the number you think I can offer Caitlin Clark to where she says, all right, one more year?
I mean, I'm sure there is everyone has a
Everyone
number,
has
right?
a number.
I don't know, because I think at some point, if you've been in school for 4 years, like, it's exhausting playing college sports, right? Like, you have 2 jobs essentially. You're playing sports, you're traveling a ton. Next year, especially the Big Ten schedule, you're going to be traveling a lot for West Coast games. I'm not even sure how they've sorted that out yet, but you have all of these expectations on you apart from just playing basketball. The schedule is grueling, and you have way less free time than if you're a professional. I have to imagine at some point you're just like, I don't want to do school anymore. I don't want to be living in Iowa anymore. I want to just be a professional. I want to play against the best players in the world. And that's what most players, I think, get to that point and are excited to do because they're competitors. And once you've, hopefully Caitlin, if you're an Iowa fan, will win the national championship this year, and you can check that off. But you want to play for a WNBA title next and do all the other things you can do as a professional.
Yeah, Jessica doesn't know how to play this game. Stugotz, what's the number you think? I'm a big crazy Iowa billionaire booster. What's the number where Caitlin Clark says, all right, one more year?
$10 million.
$10 million. I asked this question to Greg Cody yesterday because he said you couldn't pay me enough to go to a Backstreet Boys concert. And I said, of course I could. And he said, no, you couldn't pay me enough. And I said, Greg, if I gave you $500 to go to a Backstreet Boys concert. And at that moment, he immediately started thinking about it.
You had him at $500.
I had
Of
him at
course,
500.
that quickly.
It's my first offer.
But, Jess, I'm not talking about endorsements. I understand that. Both of them, Reese and Caitlin Clark, they're going to make a lot of money in the WNBA. I'm just talking in terms of relevancy and eyeballs. That's all I'm saying. Like with lacrosse, right? Most lacrosse players will tell you, and I realize this is not an apples-to-apples comparison, but they'll tell you the height of their careers is playing in college lacrosse. And there are professional leagues for both men's and women's lacrosse, but they'll all tell you the best time they had, the most eyeballs, was when they were in college. And that's all I'm talking about.
Yeah, but WNBA players still get a lot of eyeballs. They may not be your eyeballs, but they do have, like, the ratings for the WNBA have gone up over the last 5, 6, 7 years, and they're in the position where next year they're going to be renegotiating a television contract and a new CBA, and the opportunity to be even more relevant is on the table, and I think it will happen given the increased exposure of women's basketball, and, well, not just women's basketball, women's sports in general, and I think this is one of my takeaways from the game on Monday night and the viewership being as high as it was, which is that I don't think people are really, like, giving enough weight to the fact that you can actually watch these games now. Like, you can find them on TV. You have networks telling you why you should watch them. Like, ESPN for years would air women's basketball games and have no shoulder programming, no halftime shows, like no post-game analysis. They would not put their best personalities on a table or a desk talking about it leading up to the game. Like, they just had it there, and you maybe would know about it, you maybe wouldn't. And so the fact that, like, this is actually being treated like a real thing and a thing that people should watch, I think is a reason why fans have bought into it, and they're like, this is why this game's important, and I'm going to watch it. Everyone's going to be talking about it afterwards, and I want to be in on the fun and watch the game.
You mentioned the new CBA coming up. One of the things that, as I watched on Monday night, not the LSU-Iowa game, but UConn versus USC, I'm watching Juju Watkins, who's just a freshman, and I'm like, this whole you got to have 4 years in order to declare thing, it's not going to last long, can it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sorry, they were talking behind me, and I completely missed your question.
It was about Juju Watkins and like the new CBA. Are they going to have age limits and restrictions like they do now?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think, like, the last CBA had some restrictions on playing abroad that I think has tried to, like, shore up the WNBA influence and limit some of the opportunities so that the best players will be playing in the WNBA. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure about that. And I think that one of the things that ESPN has done really well, because they will be one of the networks bidding on the new WNBA rights contract, is that they're trying to market the younger stars in women's basketball and the current stars in women's basketball, because this only benefits them, and they've only really kind of shot themselves in the foot over the last few years not doing this. The ratings for women's basketball, Lindsey Gibbs wrote a really good story in Power Plays about the game on Monday night and how these ratings existed for women's basketball in the 80s, and then it went off network TV for 28 years once CBS got rid of the NCAA rights. So this is, like, completely just horrible, botched marketing and PR and everything by the networks in their own product that they pay for, and the NCAA fell ass backwards into an absolute hit despite not wanting to give any of these women support for years.
So $15 million. Caitlin Clark doesn't stay?
Make it 100.
It's time for Against the Spread. And it is brought to you, of course, by DraftKings Sportsbook. Stay tuned because you'll hear all that DraftKings has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Wow, I screwed that up.
DraftKings. Yeah.
So good.
Want to try it again? Or?
Leading up to that, you were pristine.
I don't even know. I kind of botched that one completely. Against the Spread is sponsored by DraftKings. Stay tuned because you'll hear more about DraftKings and all it has to offer throughout the show. DraftKings, the crown is yours. Stugotz, you're back. Get us going here.
All right, there are.
Damn, man.
You're crushing it. There are two big games coming up this Friday night. Women's college basketball. I'm very excited for this. By the way, if Iowa were to complete this run, it would be the greatest run in the history of NCAA tournaments. If they were to get by LSU, which they have done, then beat UConn, and then beat South Carolina, that would be the greatest run since Danny Manning took a bad Kansas team through the NCAA tournament.
You know that Miami's run to the Final Four is still, historically, the toughest route to the Final Four ever.
Right.
Notre Dame's championship in 2018 was pretty tough.
I mean, LSU, UConn, and South Carolina, an undefeated South Carolina team.
Oregon, UConn.
Anyway,
Mississippi State.
it's not going to
Jeremy,
happen.
I did make that
Right.
about Miami there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did.
I'll try to
You
check
did.
myself.
It's
Thank
fine.
you. You're
Yeah.
a guardrail against that.
Just by deep sighing.
Like Isaiah Thomas.
Zeke. But I was rambling there. Iowa's not going to pull it off. Why? Because I agree with Gino. I think Paige Beckers, not Caitlin Clark, is the best player in college basketball. I do. And I have UConn.
Okay,
Against
The spread.
Thank you. You got there.
Plus 2.5, buy it up to 3.
It's not buy it up.
Over to Jess.
Just buy the hook, Mike.
I'm going to cut the preamble because we ran out of music bed. South Carolina, minus 11.5 over NC State.
Huh?
I would love to hear your analysis there because I'm writing a future on NC State.
Ooh,
Really?
Yeah,
Look.
I have a few.
What?
I put 3 futures like a month before the women's tournament. It was on Louisville, and I regretted that almost immediately. They started playing poorly after that.
Right.
I had one on NC State because I thought that they were kind of undervalued.
They are. I think NC State's, obviously they're in the Final Four. I think they're really good. But
And I have Iowa. So I got 2 of those futures in the Final Four right now, not playing each other. So they both can potentially have a crack at this USC team that has just been amazing. South Carolina, not to confuse folks.
yeah, it is getting a little confusing. But yeah, I think South Carolina wins. I think they're going to play in the championship. I think they win this one.
You need to hedge that,
Against
no?
the spread.
Against the spread. Yeah, I'm not getting great buyout options, but we'll see.
Over to Jeremy.
I'm going to men's college basketball. And DJ Burns has just become a fan favorite.
You don't like DJ Burns, Jess?
It was a joke.
She was just booing
love
men's.
DJ.
in
He's
general.
gonna look
I
so.
love watching Duke
He's
lose
gonna
on
look so
Sunday night.
small compared to Zach Edey.
Yeah,
so small.
But I think somehow DJ Burns is going to pull this one off. So North Carolina State +9 against the spread. Tony.
On DraftKings, we've got OKC on a night of a back-to-back. They're in Boston tonight. I'm taking the Oklahoma City Thunder +9.
Is that Oklahoma City, you said?
Yeah, Oklahoma City Thunder.
Little stumble
on
there.
no, there wasn't.
Good try, Chris.
Relax,
Little stumble
DraftKings. Relax.
Nothing will be worse than what you did.
No,
Okay?
that's true.
But good try.
OKC Thunder +9 against the spread.
All right, for my against the spread, I'm going run line in Major League Baseball. I don't really like what I've seen from Joe Musgrove so far this season. He may finally be getting to that age. I have him on my fantasy baseball team. I'm a little nervous. Gonna try to trade him. Cardinals had a difficult start to the season, but now rounding into form a little bit. I think they're due today, potentially sleepy start to that game. Maybe take the under early on, but I'm going to take St. Louis Cardinals plus 1.5 on the run line against the spread.
Just got a helpful note from Taylor that he saved my DraftKings mistake, and to that I say, go bleep yourself, Taylor.
Ooh, I want to hear it again.
How long is that one going to stay with you? Like, how quickly do you get rid of that? Really?
Yeah.
No, come on. You'll have a great line later in the show, and then it will go away, no?
DraftKings. Woof. DraftKings. Because I got the crown, I think. I think what I was doing there, it's DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Yes.
I mean, you famously combine words, so.
I do.
Mm-hmm. So
Kick, save, and a butte.
Play it one more time.
Yeah, but Mike saved it for you.
DraftKings.
The crown is yours.
DraftKings. All right, moving on.
Kick, save, and a butte. Bronny is in the transfer portal.
He works hard.
What does that mean? Is he
DraftKings.
I mean, it means he's evaluating the options. Andy Enfield, I don't know if you know this, but he married a model. Not a lot of people know that about him. He married a supermodel. It was very rarely touched on when Florida Gulf Coast made their run. But this is one of those moves where he leaves U.S. That's a joke. That was all they would talk about.
I got it. I know.
So not a
straight over my head.
Yeah.
I thought Bronny got married.
If you remember Dunk City, like it was all they would talk about with him. So he went to USC, the one in California, and it wasn't really working out. There was talk that he was certainly on the hot seat. Maybe they let him go, and he got out before they could fire him, kind of. And he goes to SMU, to a premier basketball conference in the ACC,
right?
A real blue
Best
blood
one in the
conference.
country.
Honestly, you want to talk about undervalued. The ACC does this every year, where everyone says they suck, and then they just dominate in March. But he heads over to SMU, which means there's a job opening for USC. Now, he's evaluating your options. You can enter the portal at any time, especially when your coach decides to leave. So he's waiting to see what USC does with their head coaching job. And I think Arkansas's Eric Musselman is in the mix. He's done very well in the transfer portal. We'll see what happens there. Dominoes to fall.
So he's waiting to see who his coach is going to be at USC.
Yeah, see if he likes him, and then
Right.
if he doesn't or wants to go elsewhere, it's all about evaluating options right now.
LeBron, head coach, USC?
Love it.
Yeah. I mean, why not?
Musselman's a pretty good hire.
Oh, but could you
I
imagine
think
if
Musselman
LeBron-
went to the Elite Eight last year.
Yeah, but then Arkansas totally fell off this year. It was weird. They spent a lot of money in the portal. They're one of those schools that the state can fund NIL, and they dominated the transfer portal, but it did not result in wins.
Jeremy, you like the idea of LeBron being the head coach at USC?
I think it's fantastic.
Right,
It's
but that's
right
going
down
to
the
extreme
road.
measures to keep a player who's not very good, right?
Yeah, but it's his kid. It's his kid.
I know.
He could coach his kid rather than needing to play with him. Because what we've seen is, I mean, at least for a little while, Bronny's probably not going to be a starting level or rotation level NBA player. So rather than continuing the dream of playing with Bronny, he just sticks with the Lakers, coaches USC. We all know, Mike, you've been saying it. Regular season games don't matter in the NBA.
No.
So whenever USC's playing, he takes the night off, he goes and coaches, and then he heads right back to the Lakers. I think it's a great idea, Stu.
There's no way he's gonna go to a smaller school, right? Like this. If I'm him, I'm
don't know.
going to like the best team that I think will have the school that will have the best team next year, where I can be in the rotation.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably going to go to one of the three schools LeBron said that he was going to go to if he never went pro. Ohio State makes a lot of sense. I saw
Duquesne.
the
Dukes.
Miami Hurricanes uniform mock-up. I actually did watch basketball last night, by the way, but it was the McDonald's All-American game.
Oh, I watched that too. The
Cooper
women's?
Flag looks good.
Oh, I watched the women's game.
Oh, I watched the men's because
Notre
Jalil
Dame's got
Bethea
a great player
is
coming.
the number 2 recruit in the nation.
Saw that.
He's committed to Miami, and he
For now.
was just. Well, no, he's signed actually. He's signed. If Coach L, he can leave if Coach L decides to go, but he's signed and committed.
Did I
locked
just
in.
did I hear a crumb from Mike there that Bronny to UM could happen?
No, I don't think so. No, but what I was saying is I've seen the uniform mock-ups, and people were just charting Ohio State, Duke, Miami because LeBron played some time down here. I don't think that's a possibility. It's not anything that I've heard. And you have Jalil Bethea, who's going to come in and be a day one starter.
Won the dunk contest.
He looks really good.
But, Chris, you have players like in football, Kyle McCord, the quarterback for Ohio State last year, went to a lesser program at Syracuse. It does happen.
I just feel like I don't know. If I'm just trying to put myself in LeBron's shoes, like, am I really going to go to Iona?
He should go to not a middle of the pack, not a mid-major, but he should go somewhere that would allow him to get some more playing time. Because if you watch Bronny at all this year, it was very clear that he needed to develop some to actually turn himself into the NBA prospect that people hyped him up to be.
Have you guys used this thing before?
No.
What is that?
Explain what it is you're using.
I saw a meme using it. It's like this. It's like a plastic hook, and you're supposed to like put it into your back and rub like the knots out of your back with it. And it's kind of working, but I kind of am afraid I'm gonna like permanently injure myself with this thing.
Can I have some of it?
You want to try it?
Yeah.
It's really.
I played soccer, and I'm old, and I am just all sorts of banged up. All sorts of banged
I'm at
up.
the age where if I sleep weird now, it's like a week on IR.
Jeremy just said into my ear they should hire Tom Crean.
D. Wade's old coach? No, that's a way to keep him. Anybody should hire Tom Crean.
You gotta like hook it like.
Keep who?
under
Keep
the-
Bronny James?
Yeah, get Bronny.
I would love for.
What does he give a shit about Tom Crean for?
I think Major League
turned-
Baseball managers should go out and take their pitchers out with that hook.
That hook?
Yeah.
That's a great move.
Just pull them out.
That's all, folks.
Does it stand to reason, though, that LeBron's going to follow Bronny to be close to him
He should.
geographically?
St.
Because I'm
John's
starting to
Knicks.
think St. John's Knicks.
Yes.
There you go.
I didn't see that graphic. That's not a bad place for him.
Bring
That's
it
actually
back to the team to Pittsburgh, Duquesne.
that's kind of like the program that I think
Yes.
he should go to. A team that with an established head coach, a proven track record of developing players, and maybe Bronny can turn into what was maybe unfairly by LeBron promised. I mean, it was funny that Bron tweeted out, Bronny's a lot better than some of these guys that I'm watching in the NBA. And then this season happens. He's like, hey, let's relax on the kid. These are unfair expectations.
He did have a heart issue, so that it does
Correct.
kind of play into his level of play, I would imagine.
Yeah,
but if he got cleared, like, what's the issue?
I mean, he already
No,
had
I'm
an issue.
glad you mentioned that. But there was a sector of NBA fans that care deeply about the recruiting process and highly touting these people, and said that there's a marketing machine behind Bronny, as you can understand, that he could actually use a great deal of development. And maybe because of those health issues, he got off to a slow start. It was weird to get him into the rotation, and just didn't work out his freshman year the way that he certainly hoped.
Even if he was great, though, that's one of those tweets that as soon as you read it, you're like, "Ooh, this might come back to bite you."
Yeah.
The internet streets are saying that it's Oregon, Ohio State, or UCLA.
On West Coast teams.
Oregon, though.
Ohio State?
LeBron's not playing for Portland.
Oh, I wasn't listening. My bad. I was thinking about Oregon and the other school. But when you think about this,
Big
Oregon,
Ten country.
they were in the Pac-12.
Well, why don't we
right? Or
ask
whatever,
him
Big Ten.
next segment about Bronny? He's got opinions.
Okay.
So I caught the tail end of that conversation you guys are having.
Mm-hmm.
What are you guys talking about, man? This is absolutely this. Everyone's like, "Where's Bronny gonna go? Where's Bronny gonna go?" Stugatz asked the question.
Right.
Where's Braun gonna go?
Coaching USC.
No, well, no, he's not gonna do that.
Well, he plays for the Lakers.
So
simultaneously.
you
Skips a
think
bunch of games.
is LeBron micromanaging this? Do you think, or do you think Bronny gives him the reins and it's like, tell me where to go?
No. It's like this is a collaborative effort. They're in a boardroom. They've got a whiteboard. They have like a map with strings, and we can try to figure out like, okay, LeBron says Knicks, and Bronny says St. John's or Syracuse, and then LeBron
Not
says,
Syracuse, man.
With Syracuse, then LeBron he's got some other options because I think there's other cities closer than New York to Syracuse. Is Cleveland closer to Syracuse than New York?
They're roughly the same. I will tell you that Toronto is closer to Syracuse than New York City is to Syracuse.
Raptors?
By a lot. Yeah, the Raptors.
LeBron, well, how about that for his career? Hey, come back to the team that you tortured and then raise them up, huh? What are the other options? Oregon? I heard Oregon, right?
Yeah, but that can't be enough.
Why not? Blazers?
Nike?
Blazers?
Honestly, because of the ugly court.
It is.
Aesthetically not
It is a
pleasing.
tough watch.
You guys keep talking about Bronny. Like, this is not about Bronny. It's just like, hey, where do you want to go to school, kid?
So LeBron wants to go to Portland, is
Yes.
what you have.
There you go. Right.
They're
No, I
so
disagree.
bad.
What, UCLA was another one? That means he stays with the Lakers.
With the Clippers.
Oh, we might be onto something.
I mean, if we're doing this game, I'm good with UM. Bring him back.
Michigan?
Jack.
Plays for Detroit?
UM, I meant Miami.
Oh,
Yeah.
I saw his high school teammate is now the head coach at Duquesne, Drew Joyce III.
I already brought up Duquesne.
Duquesne, there you
Bring
go.
an NBA team to Pittsburgh.
What's closest to Pittsburgh?
Expansion.
I think Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Cleveland?
Yeah,
Is it
yes.
Washington, D.C. fairly close?
No, it's pretty far.
He's not going there.
All the way on the other side of Pennsylvania.
LeBron goes back. You know what? LeBron back to the Cavs could work. It could work.
Dude, you said Portland, so he can go anywhere by that math.
I would like to see LeBron with a Yinzer accent, though.
We had him on the Raptors.
I mean, that would be a great story. Conquer another country?
Yins, come down and watch the Dukes.
No one talks like that for real.
You should meet my family.
Oh, my God. I have your family, just a bunch of people look exactly like you. Just
Honestly,
like
no.
the Flow commercial where she
My
plays like a
family-
dude and stuff.
I don't look anything like the rest of my family.
Really?
I'm very suspicious, but my family looks a lot like the Sopranos,
I mean, holy crap.
including my grandma. Not a Yinzer, though.
We're leaving out the Sixers.
It's
We're talking
Taco
Pittsburgh.
Tuesday.
Oh,
Yes.
Well, I don't know how they feel about that. I think that might be an issue, right? Because Philly and Pittsburgh don't like each other. Do I have that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Also,
Sixers do have a lot of cap
in-state
room, though.
rivalry.
also shout out to Charlie Day. How's that? 2 cities in one state? How's that even possible? So is Pittsburgh in Philadelphia? No. So what? There was another team, right? Do you guys mention anything else collegiately for Bronny?
We ruled out Miami
We did.
because Jalil Bethea is
Would
the
be
truth.
hilarious if he went to Miami now.
Dude.
Could use some depth behind Bethea.
Oh, you know, if I'm LeBron and Bronny, this is what I do. I have Bronny wear that same ugly shirt. You
Yeah, you get
dust
Jim
on
Gray.
Jim Gray, and you do 30 minutes
Taking
of
my time.
talking about everything.
And then he should tweet, "Hey, let's stop putting unrealistic expectations on this
Here's an
on this
idea.
young man."
Bring DePaul back to relevancy and play for the Bulls.
So I heard this about DePaul. One of the reasons why DePaul struggles or whatever is because where they play is so far from where campus is. But I don't know anything about Chicago geography to confirm.
I mean,
it or not.
Champagne's pretty far from Chicago.
They play. Well, that's different.
That's it.
I know, but they've had success, recent success at Illinois. So they have a proud tradition of in-state basketballers and from the Chicago
I
Metroland
don't think
area.
you get what he's saying.
No,
Yeah.
you have absolutely missed my
The
point.
stadium that they play at is so far from campus, kind of like Canes and
I
Harvard.
think they
And
play-
I think
Yes.
you're missing what I'm saying in that the proximity to Chicago from Champaign hasn't really stopped Illinois from recruiting Chicago at a high
Illinois
level.
doesn't
Not the
play in
recruiting.
Chicago.
I know.
He's talking about the facility. where
He's
they
talking
play.
about-
I know.
Literally,
He's
they
saying about
struggle.
DePaul being too far away from Chicago.
No.
He's saying it's a long drive to get to the games.
DePaul is far from the
You're
facility
using the
where
Miami
DePaul plays.
Hurricanes
Yes,
excuse for
that-
football.
yes.
I thought DePaul
Not an
played at
excuse.
Wintrust Arena. Is
Yes.
that right?
Is that close or?
It's in the city. I don't know.
Should be Lose Trust.
It is not that close to campus. I guess that's your point.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was awesome, Sugat.
Yeah. Nailed it. It's like more on the south side by Chinatown, I think.
It is Wintrust.
What's going on with the? I want to talk about Chicago baseball for a little bit because I guess the Cubs are going to be okay. But
He loves baseball.
I saw
man.
some pyro, and
Cooper
I also saw some like really sad crowds for the Chicago White Sox. And there's legitimate conversation about the White Sox relocating. I don't know. Chicago being a 2 baseball club town does feel a little odd, I guess, especially when you see some of these crowds. Jess, you have Chicago ties. How legit is this?
Well,
what is the relationship with Chicago now with the White Sox? We're about 20 years removed from their world championship.
The White Sox want a new stadium. Like they want.
It's a dump.
It's
a dump.
It's not a bad place to watch a game. I've
been.
I've had good times there at Guaranteed Rate Field.
Having good times
food,
is different
it's
from.
nice.
It's a dump.
Okay. Well, I haven't been there in like 10 years, so I'll take your word for it.
I mean, Wrigley's a dump, and people love going there.
But
yeah.
it's a dump
It's a
with
dump.
character.
It's a dump with
You're right.
Like
character.
Comiskey, I'm gonna call it Comiskey forever. I don't give a damn what you want to call it. Comiskey.
U.S. Cellular for me.
MVP Baseball 05.
Yes.
The area around the stadium, which used to be like smaller bars and stuff, and now they've made it like this huge entertainment district. And I think my general understanding, and I haven't lived in Chicago in like 10 years, so I'm a little out of touch here, but the fans don't like Reinsdorf. They don't
shit.
like La Russa. They've just totally mismanaged and botched the operations of the team, including the Bulls, and the same ownership.
Yes.
And
Yeah, they had an exciting team a couple years ago. They brought in Tony
Yeah.
La Russa as a culture change.
and it's been a disaster.
yeah.
And
Is
so,
La Russa still he's not managing anymore,
He
right?
did change the culture. To be fair, I mean, he made it worse.
Yeah.
But
Is Tony La Russa still managing? Because I saw a picture of him with white hair, and I'm like, no, that's
He's
not the Tony that I
no,
know.
He's not.
So I think this is them trying to do what a lot of teams are doing right now, where they're trying to be like, all right, well, we're not going to, we're going to reinvest all of this once we get the stadium of our dreams and the city. Same with the Bears are having issues trying to find a place for their new stadium.
Wait, didn't they just fix up Soldier Field?
No, that was it was like 25 years ago, I think, 20 years ago.
I just saw like a year ago.
No, they did some renovations because they can't get a new stadium.
They had like these plans.
It was a sneaky long time ago.
It was like 20 years ago. And it got delisted from the historic landmark registrar because they've effed it up so bad. And it's truly, I hate Soldier Field as a spectator. It's just not easy to get around. It's not easy to get to your seat. It's just unpleasant in a way. So they're trying to build a new stadium and they're having issues too. The Bears hired Kevin Warren to oversee this whole
Who's Kevin Warren?
He was the former Big Ten guy and he's doing all the business stuff.
Never trust a guy with two first names. Kevin Warren.
Chris Cody.
My brother-in-law has 3 first names.
Really?
Yeah. It's kind of freaky.
What was it, Thomas Michael James or something like that?
I'm not going to tell you his name, but I don't know if that undoes the second one, that he has a third one.
But is it a legit leverage? They want to stay in Chicago 100%, but how much is relocation being actually explored?
That is a fair question that I do not know the answer
to.
But I do know that this is not just an issue with the White Sox. The Bears are also struggling.
Yeah.
They bought this property in Arlington Heights, the Arlington Heights racetrack, and now doesn't look like that's going to work out, but it's not off the table. And this has been years in the making.
But it's a Cubs town. First and foremost, it's a Cubs town.
They're trying to keep up with the Cubs.
It's a Bears town.
If you saw on opening day, the Cubs the Cubs pregame announcements when they unveiled their
Pyrotechnics,
lineup.
you almost had it.
I know, pyrotechnics.
It's
one of the
Pyro.
saddest things.
The inside people say
Look
pyro.
right here. This is the saddest thing in the history of baseball.
No, that's not real.
This is real.
That's not.
Now batting.
No.
And then he jogs out.
Dansby Swanson.
For people just listening, they're jogging over a sad tarp. And it's just fireworks you would buy at a grocery store for $40.
It's not. I'm gonna tell you what. I've seen sparklers at the club that were more ostentatious.
Yeah,
than this.
well, half of them aren't. Well, 3/4 of them aren't working properly. 2 of them aren't working at all.
It does actually make me sad.
That's what the White Sox are trying to keep up with.
It makes me want to cry a little bit.
Stugotz has done some research, by the way.
I have. Amin was right. They made renovations this past year. It looks like an entirely different stadium, Soldier Field.
It's not.
You said you haven't been there in 10 years.
No, I said U.S. Cellular. I was at Soldier Field last year for a Notre Dame game. Or I guess it was 2022, so a year and a half ago.
Bona fides.
They did it a year ago, 2023.
All right, well, maybe I'll go back this year.
There
and
you
let
go.
Know.
Yeah, and you let me know.
I'll go back and let you know.
The Comiskey, U.S. Cellular, guaranteed rate, whatever. The difference, someone asked earlier, well, Wrigley's a dump. Wrigley's a dump with character. This place is just
history.
It's a box. Right. It is literally just a box. It's kind of like some of these NBA arenas. Some of them, like Madison Square Garden, was a dump before they fixed it up. But it was a dump that had character, right? Counterpoint, Arco was a box. It was literally just they took a box and they landed it right in the middle of a city and said, all right, here's your arena. And so I think if the architecture is nice, if it has kind of certain kind of je ne sais quoi, touches to it, that's fine. If it's just something from the 70s that was just built that looks very blockish, no one wants to keep that.
I can't get over this Cubs opening day thing. Did they have a meeting and they were like, this works? Good. Blue tarp, sad blue tarp, yep.
Here's the messed up part, Chris. If they didn't have the tarp and didn't have the fireworks, they just had the guys running out the dugout and called their names. Nobody would have said a thing. It would have been perfectly fine.
Normal day?
Normal day. How much does that shit cost?
Not that much.
Right there.
I feel
I got a guy who can put that up in 20 minutes.
They got all 4 of those things for $200.
200? No way. No way.
I'm going under.
I'm going under for sure. That's $150.
I'm going under that. It's a tarp and a couple of sparklers. Yeah.
It does make me sad though. That was someone's idea
and so many people were like, yeah, you should run with that. They don't like the guy whose idea it was, right? That's the only explanation.
They're we're never doing this again.
No, they did it on purpose.
I swear the sparklers look better on the
to make him look bad.
Yeah, go ahead, do it.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz Podcast.